here. Thank you for having us, by the way. We are here to talk about the Mental Health Access Team, which is a pilot program out of the Northern Colorado VA. So we're currently the only VA in the country that we know of doing this pilot program. It's an outpatient mental health program aimed at getting mental health services to veterans when they can't get to the clinic, when telehealth's not a good option. So we've been doing it for 2 years, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Nice. Yeah. Kind of like a mobile VA unit kind of thing?
Yep, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you've been on the podcast before, but most of the places that we meet at are, networking events, things like that. And I know I've seen you before at one of those. I love what you guys are putting together, and I tell him all the time, because I see him a lot lately.
Yeah, we make the rounds.
Yeah. I love bragging about it.
Me, man.
Yeah, no, right? But I mean, it's being able to brag about, the hardest part is getting veterans to go to the VA. And when you can kind of like cut that middleman out of waiting for the veteran to make that decision, to not like bottlenecking it and say, hey, well, I'm here and I can come like see you. Like, I think being able to overcome that a lot easier with what you guys are doing is going to make such a difference, which is why I brag about it all the time. Like, dude, oh man, I can't make it to the VA because it's too far of a drive. I can't make it to the VA or set an appointment for anything because of insert whatever reason it may be. Being able to tell them, well, hey, they can come to you. Like, and whatever issues you're dealing with or hurdles that you're trying to overcome, they can, if they don't have the answer for you, they can point you in the right direction. So I'm a huge proponent of what you guys are doing, which is why I had you guys come on in. If you guys could just kind of give us a step-by-step process of what a veteran, I'm Joe Blow veteran that, I don't really want to leave my house. I'm limited, whether it's physically or emotionally, whatever it may be, and I just don't want to leave my house. What would you guys, how would I need to get a hold of you? Or could somebody get a hold of you for me? Like, what's that process look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. If I can maybe back up a little bit.
No problem.
We can circle back there. But I think just generally so folks understand the, concept for this program was born out of recognition of a need that there are a lot of veterans who aren't coming to the VA. And you mentioned some of those reasons: transportation, finances, difficulty leaving the house. We work with some veterans who homeschool kids or caregiver a disabled partner or a disabled child, and that like caregivers have a really hard time finding, space for their own appointments. We have veterans who are in school, work full time, like not able to schedule VA appointments on their 30-minute lunch break, which is 45 minutes from the VA, right? And then we have some veterans who live really rurally that are working with our program and have said for a long time, we would love to get treatment for our PTSD, but right. We live at the top of a mountain without cell phone service or whatever it may be, which is a lifestyle choice, right? And so the program was born out of that. My supervisor, who is the head of outpatient mental health at the Cheyenne VA, Amber, comes from a military family and had just, been recognizing this over time, that there was a real gap. And so the VA has a couple of programs that they've had for a long time that see people in the community. One of them is the HUD-VASH program when a veteran's experiencing homelessness. One is a program that provides intensive mental health supports when somebody has like a serious and pervasive mental health diagnosis, like schizophrenia or a mood disorder, and would otherwise really struggle to live independently. And so we really saw like this need for people before then, right? Before the eligibility criteria for experiencing homelessness or having, a lot of struggles living independently was met. And that's where the idea was born out of. And so if a veteran has a barrier getting to the VA or using telehealth, that is where our team comes in. So we've been making the rounds at outreach events. That's where you and Luca frequently run into each other. Just so veterans have awareness like that we're out there, right? And so referrals come in a number of ways. We recently got our first order of swag. So we have fidget spinners and dog bowls and some cool chip clips. Magnetic chip clips are very popular, I'm told. And so, just getting our number out there at veteran outreach events in the community. And then, people can reach out directly. And if we're not the right team for them, we will funnel them in the right direction. But also referrals that just come through our general outpatient mental health channels. Let's say a veteran meets with their primary care doctor, or they call, one of the numbers to get support that are available for veterans. If they identify a barrier to care, those referrals end up coming to our team. So it's a no wrong door, right? We want to reach the veterans who would benefit from these services in any way possible. And they can end up, getting in touch with us through a variety of avenues.
Nice. And to also cap on a comment that you said is that talking about assisting them regardless of whether or not they meet the criteria for the team to provide them care. Most recently, I had a veteran. I actually have no idea how he got my card, but he got my card and was calling me for some challenges that he was having. And even though he didn't quite go through the referral process, end up receiving care from the mental health access team, I still took the time to connect with him with people who could help. And by like 3 or 4 days after the phone call with him, he's already talking to other primary care to get the assistance that he needed. So it's not only veterans that meet the criteria. We help wherever we can. And if they don't meet, we'll still bridge them somewhere to get them the help that they need.
That makes a huge difference with a lot of the programs, because not just with VA stuff, but like foundations or groups like that, like if it's not something they can help with right then and there, a lot of people aren't willing to be like, oh, why don't you go talk to this other group or foundation that we don't work with and it's not affiliated with us. Like, I don't know if it's like I need to collect all the veterans kind of feeling or what, but it's refreshing to hear, even if it's not something your program can specifically help them with, you'll point them in the right direction as somebody that could.
I think that's really living like the name Access, right? Which it took us a long time and a lot of consternation to settle on our name. But ultimately, Access is exactly what we're aiming to provide veterans in the community. And so really living up to that name of, look, we might not be the right fit, but if you're having barriers in accessing VA supports, we can help bridge the gap.
Nice. Yeah. Perfect. So when you guys show up to a veteran's home, whatever it may be, what does that meeting look like?
Yeah, so I think, a helpful answer for any question is it depends, right? So it sort of depends on what the veteran's primarily wanting services for. Our team has psychiatric medication providers, therapists, case manager, and Luca is our peer support specialist. And so there's a variety of disciplines, and some people might want and or need all of the services, and some people might say, no thanks, I'm not really interested in meds, I just want therapy, or I actually just really need help with this case management task of like getting my benefits sorted or something like that. And so it really depends on what the veteran's needs are. We offer everyone who comes onto our team an intake with each discipline we have. So you can have an intake with meds, you can have an intake with therapy, you can have an intake with case management and with Luca, and then you can kind of decide what services make sense. Or, you don't have to. If there's only one thing or two things that a veteran really wants, then we just provide that. And then some veterans say, right, I can't make it to the VA and telehealth isn't an option for me, but I don't really want someone in my house. And like, I get it. I have a 4-year-old. So if people come over unannounced, I get actually very mad because I'm like, the house is not clean. Yeah. Like you can't be here. And so for whatever reason, right, a veteran does not have to want us in their house, and that's okay. We can go on walks with people. We've met people at their fishing holes for therapy sessions, right?
That's cool.
at their work sites. We have to maintain enough privacy in a public location for the visit to be confidential, but we can meet people like at coffee shops. Sometimes the outdoor tables there are private enough. And so really what we want veterans to hear is we don't have to come into your house. We certainly will if that's of interest to you and helpful to you. And if you can't make it to the VA, like we'll meet you wherever you can meet.
So you're very accommodating from what it sounds like.
Yes. Yep.
And we meet with and assist with veterans as far as a 2-hour drive away from the clinic.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What's the farthest distance you guys have gone so far?
So the Northern Colorado VA is, in Loveland, on not Hans Peak, on Bird.
Right next to Harley Davidson.
Right next to Harley Davidson. So east, we've gone as far as Sterling. West, we've gone as far as like Red Feather and Estes. North, pretty much to the Wyoming state line, and then south until Denver VA's catchment area starts. Okay. So wide swath.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you think's the biggest hurdle that that you guys have noticed a lot of veterans are showing up with when you guys get out there?
Yeah, we actually have some data on this, which is helpful because I can give you an answer that's not just my speculation. So the largest portion of our referrals have transportation or financial barriers, followed by like some sort of symptom that makes leaving the house hard, be that physical immobility and or something like, panic, social anxiety, agoraphobia. And then, so those are the top two. And then we have work, education, or caregiving responsibilities coming in third. And then rural location fourth. And then our last one is like, have you had a negative experience in mental health care or at the VA previously that would make it so you didn't want to go back to the VA? Right. And that's, I think, underreported in our data because we didn't add that one until the program had been going for about a year. So I think that's actually higher. But yeah, there's a lot of veterans who have had experiences for whatever reason that were not supportive or were not good or were not helpful. And then that might be their barrier, right? They're like, well, I'm not going to go to the VA again. Something happened in the waiting room, right? Everybody has a different story. What do you see, Luca?
I was just going to, the last comment, not every VA is the same, which sucks, but also it's good to a degree. Because we up here in the Northern Colorado VA, I can see a lot of like the mentality of it, especially with this team specifically. We understand that not everybody has a positive experience with the VA, and we're trying our absolute best to remedy that in every way that we can. This team is a step in that, I believe in that direction. The amount of veterans that I have met with on this team who have said some kind of variation of, I don't know what I would do without you, or along the lines of like, God, this is so much better than the other VA I went to. It's staggering. I see a lot of distrust and dislikeness from the VA that they have received before, sometimes from different states, sometimes from our state. But that is a staggering amount of a lot of the conversations. And I think I have more candid conversations than probably a lot of the team, given that I'm peer support. So I probably, me and our case manager probably hear that a lot.
I feel, and same thing on my end. I hear that constantly. And in some ways I feel like it's a trope where, a lot of veterans are like, yeah, I hate the VA. They suck. The wait times, this, that, and the other, which it can be. Don't get me wrong. Like the VA's got issues with itself that it's fixing. But I mean, knock on wood, I'd say 90% of the interactions I've had with the VA, whether it's putting in claims, whatever it may be, has been nothing but positive, which is why I'm such a big proponent of programs like what you guys have going, and introducing veterans to the VA or, whatever it may be that has to do with veteran affairs. And it's just because in my mind, I'm like, well, dude, you're just not doing it right. Like, let's get you talking to a different person, a different group, like whatever it may be. We can change your outlook on the VA. Just give me some time. So the more groups and people like yourselves that I meet, I want to like collect them like Pokemon, you know, and I want to be like, dude, I know exactly where I can point you. You don't want to leave your house, or you don't want to go to the physical VA because you've had nothing but bad negative interactions with it. I know exactly who to point you towards. And I mean, even if it's like we said, if it's something that you guys aren't doing in particular, you can point them in the right direction. So I want to give veterans the information that I wish I had when I had first gotten out, that I don't think is as readily available as it should be. So I'm really glad that you guys are doing this stuff and getting out there. And I mean, I think the first time we met was, and correct me if I'm wrong, was at one of our networking events. Is that the first time?
I think so, but we also on my spare time I also volunteer with the Combat Recovery Foundation, so I think we crossed paths there, but then met each other at a networking event.
That's right. No, dude, I love it.
I try to remember, like, you know, for a lot of folks, getting mental health help for the first time is hard and it takes a lot of courage, right? And so it's a low threshold for something to go wrong when it's already something that took a lot of like courage and effort to engage in and step out. And I think particularly with PTSD, where one of the main symptoms of trauma is avoidance, right? We don't want to live in that pain and sit in it and stay there. And so I think, you know, whether it's at VA or in community, like the threshold for having a bad experience and seeking mental health treatment can be really low. Because people are already operating outside the comfort zone of what they've been doing, and realizing like, okay, maybe I need to be doing something different, but it's also really scary. And so our team really strives to kind of meet people where they are in that regard and say, if the getting to that appointment is just not going to happen, then we'll come to you. And you don't have to come to us.
What's the biggest hurdle that you guys have run into after starting this?
After meeting with a veteran, or just like
connecting or getting veterans to learn about the program? Like, I
almost feel afraid to say this. I'm glad this is a wood desk, but it's not like we haven't had, I don't know, speed bumps, but there really haven't been any big sinkholes. I think we have a lot of support for the program locally at our VA, and the team, which includes Luca, that works in this program, are so dedicated and passionate and all really good communicators and networkers. I would say, the biggest thing is making sure the people who could benefit from our program hear about it. Right. And those efforts are ongoing. That's why that's why we got the swag and we're making all the outreach rounds.
Going to podcast.
Yeah, now we're here on a podcast. But I would say,
knock on wood. There's no more hurdles.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, I mean, there's some sort of administrative stuff that's, I think, with any program launch. But in terms of the actual services, that we're providing, I'm kind of hard pressed to think of one. Good. Really.
I'm glad to hear that.
I think of the only hurdle that I see from my limited perspective, because I'm not the manager, I'm a member of the team, is just trying to reach the people that would benefit. Because for a lot of our demographic that we assist with are veterans that are remote and isolated.
Off the grid.
And in my peer support work, I started a group called Facing Your Dragons that was targeting isolated fellow nerds like me to come together to play tabletop gaming. And even that, I have a hard time getting that into people's pockets so that they're aware of that, because the very people I'm trying to reach are unreachable to some degree.
Yeah. No. And so we've partnered, I think, rural mental health is a big issue in our country right now. And We've partnered with a couple grants through the Office of Rural Health. One is the Patton Veterans Project, which I know
Nice.
you're familiar with, but they bring veterans, including rural veterans, together for a weekend of filmmaking. Ben Patton, who's General Patton's grandson, who did not go into the military but went into filmmaking, does that, program. And we partner with them to help support reaching veterans who may not be aware of our services. And then the Office of Rural Health has a veteran social, sort of veteran run events in the community that occur in a lot of the rural communities around northern Colorado. And so we partner with them to, help spread the word. But I think intentionally, some of the people we're hoping to reach live off the grid, right?
Yeah.
And so we've done a couple events in like Wrist Canyon and some of the really rural sort of isolated. We do a Red Feather event every year.
Oh man.
That I actually feel we work with a veteran in Red Feather and sort of we're invited. And so I think that's otherwise we, would not be able to be in that community or
Right.
wouldn't have gotten in there yet. But I think, it's certainly an ongoing, how do we reach the people that would benefit?
What's you guys' long-term goals with the program as far as outreach, how many places you want to be at? Like, how far are you guys wanting to take this?
You want like
I want your plans.
Okay,
like,
I want this
we want to
program.
reach every city.
Yeah, I want this program in every VA facility in the country. Every VA facility in our country has veterans in its catchment area that are not getting mental health services, but want them and have barriers. So, in 10 years, we'll see if it's come to fruition. But I think, we want to be in every VA.
Huh? And we'll try and make it happen too. I love it.
We're fighting for it for sure. I mean, you could just like kind of picture it in your head of just like the veterans that I meet now, imagining them without the team. There's got to be hundreds of thousands of veterans just like them all across the U.S. in the backwoods of Kansas and outside of Topeka in Texas, a lot of backwoods in Nevada, but like the just in all of these different areas across the entire U.S. of veterans that are not in a massive city like L.A. or Denver or Houston or I don't even know what New York's VA looks like, but I imagine they've got a decently sized one. So like there's a lot of veterans that are not close enough that are not going to the VA that, I mean, at the absolute worst case scenario is actively dying from something that can be prevented or are feeling that crippling loneliness that can sometimes come for you. I've had veterans that don't have their grandkids call them ever, and they're just out there in the boonies alone. Without us, there would be no one at their side. And there's so many veterans out there that need a team like us.
And sometimes even when people live close, like one of the initial veterans that came onto the mental health access team, and he's in our video, our YouTube video. So his story is already out there, but he lives like less than 2 miles from the Loveland VA, but has experienced intense symptoms of agoraphobia for 20 years. And so he's 2 miles from the VA, but his mental health symptoms were the barrier that couldn't get him there, right? And so I think it's both, right? It's rural veterans and it's the one in big cities and close to VA that still have barriers in getting care. And that veteran, Mr. Thayer, at the end of the video talks about how working with our team gave him the courage to go out and buy a car. Even though he hadn't left his house in 2 decades. And he now drives himself to his fishing hole, which is a really peaceful place for him and supportive of his mental wellness overall. So I think, it's notable. It's people who live far away and people who live close, right? Barriers can know all kinds of shapes.
Yeah. No, and honestly, when I heard about you guys' program, I was surprised that this was like we're trying this out and we just started it. Like I had already assumed that this was something every VA would already be doing because it makes sense. It's, you can't, how many veterans do you know just offhand that don't like being around other people? Like, you know what I mean? And I just assumed that this was, something every VA would have. Like, yeah, we'll come to you.
I might have this slightly incorrect, but there is something called home-based primary care, or at least care in the community, that's at a lot of different VAs around the U.S., but that's usually partnership with the community rather than specifically VA personnel. So you're accurate. It feels like it's something that should be all over, but yeah, we're the first in the U.S., at least so far, to be doing that.
But I think what you're talking about would fall more into these people have already been communicating with the VA,
yeah,
and like gone in and been like, okay, now I need somebody to come to my house and check on me, and like it's getting to that step that you guys are kind of tightening in on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, Luca's right. We have the home-based primary care program. It's a medical program. So if people can't get to their doctors for primary care,
right,
home-based primary care does that in the home. And not everybody, but most people who are able to participate in that program are homebound and unable to leave their home. And then the other two programs I mentioned that VA has that are community-based are in homeless program and or a really high level of intensive mental health intervention. And so we want to reach people before their mental health leads to the experience of homelessness, or before their mental health has gone untreated so long it's now reached like a really high level of impairment that would qualify them for some of those other programs, or before somebody is homebound.
Right.
So I think it's both. We want to meet people that are like, I mean, in our first 2 years, we registered 21 veterans for VHA healthcare that were not in the VA system at all.
Nice.
Right. And so those are the people we want to, those are the people I hope are watching this podcast. And they had no experience with VA at all. And then some people, do and are registered in the system, but haven't gotten services in a really long time. So there's a whole spectrum.
I mean, there's so many that don't even consider themselves veterans, that are veterans.
Yeah.
And I say this a million times, like less than 1% of Americans volunteer for military service. And I want to say less than 7% of Americans are military veterans. I mean, that's a very small percentage, but it's still a lot of people that are themselves veterans that, there shouldn't be homeless veterans. There shouldn't be veterans that need medical care that aren't receiving it. These are things that veterans should know about. And I'm glad that you guys are putting programs like this together to make that happen. Is there any message you guys would want to get out to veterans about this program?
I think every time I talk about this program, except for on this podcast, I just played the veteran video that we have, because it's a lot of really brave veterans talking about their experiences, not getting mental health treatment, and then their mental health recovery after working with the mental health access team. And I think they say it a lot better than I ever can. It's so powerful and so moving to hear them talk about, like, I might not have ever done this if it wasn't for somebody coming to me, and I'm so grateful, and I'm still alive because I did. There's multiple people in that video that say they could be or probably would be dead from suicide without mental health intervention that the mental health access team could provide. So I think if I want people to hear anything, it's that the veterans say it much better than I do. But those veterans say, like, that however scary it is, or however uncomfortable it is, or however much distress it causes to seek help, it can be worth a life.
Take that first step and take every day one day at a time. And makes a huge difference, right? See how
nice little reference there, yeah.
Is there anything else you have?
I would say just kind of like this is to all veterans?
Just in general?
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not crazy. You're not broken. And if you watch the previous episode and understand like what peer support is, it's a huge hint and indicator as to how this team is oriented, that they put a peer role on there, is that it really isn't that difficult to, at the very least, reach us and get some help, some assistance, regardless of whatever that takes form into. So if you feel like it's painful or difficult to ask for help, don't. Put those aside. We're here to help you. And the mental health access team, our whole intention is to improve your quality of life and to get you the care that you need one way or another.
Heck yeah. You guys got any shout outs or anything before we...
Shout out to the case manager, Joe, on our team. He's a wizard. He's the smartest of us all.
Different Joe.
Different Joe. Not this Joe. Not this Joe. We got a Joe on our team. Yeah. He's so good. He feels like, I know that like we have a whole team, obviously, who have their own different specialities that do all their own different kinds of work, but I really can't advocate enough that the case manager on our team is so good. He's really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really an honor and a privilege to work with the people on the team. So our med providers, Laura Turk and Ronnie Schaefer, our therapists, Jen Lineback and Libby Jerka, Joe Davison in the role of case manager, and Luca as our peer support specialist. I'm sometimes without words and just so much gratitude for the work that they do. And then our fearless leader, Amber, who I mentioned earlier is my supervisor. This was really her baby, her brainchild. Like, she saw the need and somehow moved, I think, heaven and earth in the VA system to get the funding for the program with the support of some folks in Cheyenne VA's mental health system. And then the ongoing support we have within the VA just cannot be understated. I think the pilot has been very successful. Veterans have really good outcomes after working with our team and report really high. Like, yes, we were very satisfied with your services. Thank you very much. Not that, right, we don't ever have room to grow. We always have room to grow. But I think just working in a VA system that sees the value in doing something unique feels really special. Been with the VA for 10 years, been with a couple VAs, and it's a unique opportunity to do something, I think, really meaningful for veterans. And so the team is wonderful. We've got great support in our leadership line. And I mostly just want to shout out the veterans who are like, yeah, sure, come sit on my couch. Because, like, again, don't come to my house, please. Like, even if you're invited, I'm going to be a little salty about it, right? So I think it takes a ton of vulnerability and courage. And for all the veterans we've been able to work with thus far, like, wow.
I like how your shout out was very moving and emotional. And I was like, yo, my coworker's a wizard.
He is, though. He is. Yeah. Well,
hopefully the VA keeps this momentum going and you guys just, this infects all of the VAs. I really hope this continues, and I'm really glad that you guys are doing what you're doing.
I wish, so you grew up in Colorado, I know. There was like a commercial when I was growing up that was for like a car dealership, and the number was like a song, and I wish I could either remember it and put my number in there and or come up with my own jingle. But because I don't have one, I'll just say, if you're a veteran and you're listening to this and you want to know more, 970-689-2673. It's the number you can call. And it's not in song form, so it doesn't sound good, but that's the number.
Now all I'm thinking of is jingles. Yeah. If you want to cry but you don't want to die, call 977. That's all I'm thinking.
You want to cry but you don't want to die. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
I'll get the t-shirt.
Well, you said jingle, and that's all that. Now I'm thinking that and wacky waving inflatable arm tube man.
We can brainstorm. We'll figure.
Yes.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah. Thank you again, guys. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we go?
No, it was an honor and a privilege to be on your show. I'm excited for the relationship as it continues to grow into our future.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you for all you do, and thanks for having us.
Right back at you guys. Thank you.